Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the FTD Virtual Design Show titled Designed for Success, Your Plan for a Profitable Mother's Day, featuring Randy Wooten, AIFD. As a quick housekeeping note, Randy will be taking questions during the session. If you have a question, simply type it in the question box on the upper right side of your screen. In addition, there are 2 documents in the handout section on the upper right side of your screen that you can download at any time during the session. One is Randy's tips that he will be sharing today, and the second is the FTD Flower Exchange order form for the Mother's Day Labor Saver bouquets that Randy will be showing today as well. All right, let's get started. Welcome, Randy.
Welcome. Thank you, Janet. Appreciate FTD and the opportunity to get to share with everyone. Thank you for spending your time with us this afternoon. Everybody's getting ready for Mother's Day, and time is just flying by. I mean, this whole year is just going at such a fast pace. And a lot of my colleagues I've been talking to, I'm like, what are you doing for Mother's Day? Are you ready? And they're like, I haven't even thought about it. And it's here. So we need to get on the ball and get things rolling. And I was very excited about this particular one because for me, last week I just celebrated my 20th year owning my grandmother's shop. And every year we tweak every holiday a little bit more, a little bit more. And I will say this, I don't have the perfect shop. I don't have all the answers. But one thing I do have is experience of 20 years. And today I want to share with you things that worked for us here in the shop that has not only made us more profitable, but also has streamlined things and made it easier. The old saying and the cliche saying is that we work smarter, not harder. And that's so true now, even as I get older. You know, I don't want to work as hard as I have been. So any way that I can save time, number one, but time is money. So anytime I can save time, I'm saving money and making money. So she mentioned the handout that's attached. If you want to go ahead and open it up, I'm going to be referring to this throughout the program because there's a lot of information that I want to share and I don't want to miss anything. We're going to start off with talking about the different areas that I feel we can streamline things and be more efficient, which there again is going to save time and make us more profitable. The first thing we're going to talk about is limit the number of products that you order for the holiday. Create custom designs, create your own designs. Reduce the options on your website. We all know there's too many there. Take advantage of time-saving resources, and we're going to share one of those that FTD has to offer for Mother's Day. Mass produce in advance, and then adequate staffing. You know, that's always a big issue and a hurdle that we face at holiday times. So we've got several things we're going to talk about. So we're going to start off with limiting the type of products that you purchase. You know, when we're talking about Valentine's Day, a lot of stuff is primarily roses, and then we vary off from that and fill in with other types of lilies and different types of specialty spring flowers and such. But Mother's Day encompasses so much more, and if you're not careful, you can get bogged down and buy all of these different products, and then you start designing, and then when it's all done, you have a lot left over. And for me, one of the things that I've tried to do over the last few years is limit the number of different types of product that I buy, and the ones that I choose to buy, I buy more of them. For example, line flowers. I normally do a liatris because that's very popular in a lot of the recipes. Stock, snaps, and then bells. Those are the 4 that I typically do, and I just buy them in the colors that are appropriate for the holiday, and I buy more of them. And when we start talking about creating your custom designs, I make sure that I build my designs around the product that I buy. Okay, so mass flower, hydrangea. I do a lot of cremones and disc buds. There are some beautiful disc buds out there that resemble the dahlia, and we're going to show some of those today in our design program. Lilies is a big component, and I love to use lilies because they take up a lot of space. Just like a hydrangea is a mass flower, and it makes a bigger presentation. So I buy heavy on hydrangeas in blue, white, pink, lime green, and the mini greens, and I buy heavy in that. Gerber daisies, I buy heavy in those in the appropriate colors for the holiday. Then the lilies, I normally do white and pink and oriental, and then in the Asiatics or the LAs is the ones I really like. I do those in white and pink, and there again, I buy heavy on that, okay? And then we stick with the roses. You have your roses and you have your filler. Now, I narrow the filler down. I mean, there's a lot of options out there, but I typically, my crew likes to work with Misty, Limonium. My personal favorite is wax. We deal with Limonium, wax, and then we deal with the Mardi Gras asters. The Solidago is the primarily one, and then you'll see maybe a white aster, not too much of that. There's a hybrid aster out that we do. So I limit it to that, and then we buy heavy again on that. So make sure that you're limiting what you buy, and then also let's limit it to the colors. Okay, let's don't try to stock every color that we do on a normal daily basis. Okay, we're talking about Mother's Day, so you definitely want pinks, whites, lavenders, and then I try to use some vibrant colors like your yellows, your orange, and your hot pinks, and your greens. And I stick with those color palettes, and then when I go to sit down and create my custom designs, I keep that in mind. And that segues us into creating your custom designs. I hope most of you are creating your own designs and photographing them and publishing them on your website or on your social media. When it comes to the holiday time, I try to pick about 6 to 8. There's too many options out there, folks, and you want to limit it because you don't want to be spending all week long with a stack of orders over here and each order be a different recipe. Because number one, that goes back to the first thing we were talking about limiting the amount of product you buy. You have to buy a product for every one of these recipes, and that's hard to keep up with. Second, we all know with these internet orders that come off your website, when people see a photograph and they're so used to having shopping online with Amazon, they see a picture of a green sweater, they expect the green sweater to show up. So if you're showing a particular design, you need to have the product for that. And if you have 30 or 40 options on there, it's very hard to get that. So create those recipes and then build your designs around those flowers. You'll see some that we talked today where some will have the same color palette, but there's different flowers or a different grouping of flowers. You know, just all those flowers I just rattled off doesn't mean some of all of those go in every design, because we're going to be working on different price points as well. One of the color combinations that I love to use that's really pretty and clean is blue, white, and gray, like Dusty Miller and your seeded eucalyptus and your silver dollar. Those are very popular. All white, believe it or not, all white and the grays are very popular. So you want to stick with those traditional colors, but then you want to have something outside of that. Outside of the traditional colors and the blue and white and the gray, probably those warm popping colors like hot pink, lime green, orange. The Free Spirit Rose is a beautiful one to add to that color combination. I hope that when you're creating those designs, what you want to do is you want to create them at different price points. You know, like on the website, it will say a standard, a deluxe, or a premium. Okay? I don't go in there when we're designing and design some of all of those three. I typically design the low end and the middle one. And then when we get a premium, then I can always take the middle, the deluxe, and add stems to it and upgrade it, okay? And vice versa. If I run out of the deluxe and I have the standard, then I can always upgrade the standard to the deluxe. You want to create multiple versions of this in your cooler, okay? When we're talking about creating custom designs, you want to mass produce, okay? And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But when you're creating these recipes, make sure that what you ordered matches what your recipes are. And I only limit 6 to 8, okay? I don't do more than that. It's just really hard to keep up with. And I know some of you are probably saying, well, my customers want more options. I understand that and I get it. But at holiday time, to take out the stress and the long hours, limit yourself. You will find that you will be more productive as well as more profitable. And you'll be able to give them superb product and designs. Talking about limiting it to 6 to 8 designs. And this is where I really wish I had feedback. When we're live, I can get feedback as we go. So if you have a question or a comment, please share it and Janet will relay it on to me. But one of the things that I struggled with early on was that website of mine, and it had all those options. And I did not know this, but they shared with me later when I was complaining about all the options that I had control over it, and I could request things to be taken down. So one of the things I encourage you to do is reduce the options on your website. What I do is I plan in advance and I give my webmaster plenty of time, and I pick out those 6 or 8 that I want to put up for Mother's Day. I leave my rose section up and I leave my sympathy section up. Everything else is hidden and taken down. So the week before the week of Mother's Day, that's all the options there are, okay? Because people tend to order typically the week before and the week of. So for that 2-week period, my website is just restricted to those 6 or 8 plus my roses plus my sympathy. And that has helped tremendously, because before those orders would come in and it would be product that maybe I had not planned for, because there's no way I can plan for every option that is on that website. So by doing that, oh my goodness, y'all, it streamlined everything and it cut it down. And I knew that if an order came off the website, I had the product to fill that order. The other thing that was suggested, and we did, in addition to my custom designs, my FTD codified product, my roses, and my sympathy, they added an option called a custom designer bouquet. That means they can choose that, and it's up to me to pick out a bouquet for them. They even took it a step further, and when they click on that, it asks them for a color, gives them like 3 or 4 different color scheme or color palette options, and then it gives them 3 different price point options. And that way, if they don't see anything on the website out of those 6 or 8, then they can choose a custom designer bouquet. And that gives us the freedom to use what we have in the cooler. So if you don't have that on your website, I encourage you to do so. It really saves time. And what did I say? Time is money. One of the things that we actually do when planning those designs is I pay close attention to color. And a lot of this you're going to see today, you'll notice some of it is monochromatic, and I love it. But also some of it is playing off bold color as well as textures. So one of the designs that...
Randy, we have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
you were talking about limiting the designs for the 2 weeks for the holiday. Do you take down all the birthday or do you keep any birthday designs?
No, that's a good question. No, I take down everything. And the reason I do that is because if you leave up birthday, anniversary, they can still purchase that. And if they don't, they're going to scroll through every gallery. Okay. So if you leave it up, there is a chance that they're going to purchase that, and you may not have, I may not have that product. Because in the shop, we're going to talk about mass producing in a moment, but for us, when I create those recipes, me and 2 other designers come in and I delegate certain designs to each one, and we mass produce those arrangements and put them in the cooler. They're ready to go. When we're done designing, we're done designing. Now, as the week progresses, there may be custom designs, or we may run short on what we've mass produced, so we may be filling in. But it took all that stress and all the late hours, long hours of designing, because you have a stack of orders here where you've got to look at one order, pull that recipe, come back, design it, and then tag it, and then go to the next order, look at that recipe, go pull the flowers, come back, design it. That's all gone. Those days are over for me when it comes to holiday time. I just can't keep up with the volume. And 2, I'm old and I'm tired, and I don't want to work till 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. I already come in at 4, so I'd never get in and sleep. Any other questions?
Nope, that's it for now, but yep, just if anybody has any questions while we're going through this, type them in that question box. We'll be sure to ask Randy.
Awesome. Now we're talking about creating designs, and I told you I try to do a few combinations that are outside of the traditional Mother's Day color scheme. And I have just truly fell in love with Dusty Miller. For years, I was very hesitant in using it, because so many times the only time I came in contact with it was when they put it in bridal bouquets, and most of the time it wilted and it flopped, and I was like, no, we're not doing that. But a couple years back, I started using it in water-based designs, and it holds up beautifully. And I'm going to tell you, the key to avoiding that kind of problem with product is buying fresh product. Okay? Fresh product is the key. But I absolutely love it. So I've started working it into my designs, and I hope that this shows well on camera, because it is just absolutely stunning. Absolutely love it. And you see that container? Early on in my design journey, someone had shared with me early on that your color should always bleed through the entire arrangement. If you have color here, it needs to bleed down throughout the composition. And here, I've taken notice, and I've listened of that all these years, and I always love to make sure the container is visible, you can see it, and it's part of the design. Especially if it's not a clear container, I want it to be part of the design. And this beautiful pale yellow container, absolutely love it. I wish you could see it up close. It's almost like hammered, and believe it or not, this is that plastic. I absolutely love it. How many of you are purchasing the Cremone balls? Absolutely love them. They come in so many different colors. Absolutely beautiful. This one has to be the golden yellow. And I paired it with the white hydrangea, the yellow ranunculus, and the Dusty Miller. This would be a nice combination for Mother's Day. It's bright, but yet it's soft. And I absolutely love the container. I don't have a lot in it. The container, I think, cost me $3. And absolutely love it. And you'll see it in another color in just a little bit. But that's one of the color combinations that we are going to be offering for Mother's Day. Here's another one. Look at those disc buds. I told you we were using a lot of disc buds. They look like dahlias, folks, and they're a fraction of the cost. Absolutely love them. And this is another one of those plastic containers, and this one is in a soft pink. So I wanted to use this blush muted tones, and I'm pouring out water, in the disbud and in the rose. This particular rose is a pink Mondale. Absolutely love it. It's that soft blush color, that dusty blush. And then the hydrangeas and the beautiful Veronica. Absolutely love Veronica. That's another product that I have discovered, if you will, always known about it, but never really worked with it that well. But now we keep it in purple, pink, and white. And the staff absolutely loves it, and it's just really pretty. But absolutely love these disc buds. After the program, you can always send me a private message on Facebook and ask me the variety names, and I can look it up for you. I don't want to speak on this one because I have two that I use, and I get them confused. But absolutely love this one. It's that dusty muted tones, and for those of you who do a lot of weddings, this is a beautiful substitution for a dahlia. So I hope you like that one. And then this one is a green and white pattern. And I've used the dark mini green hydrangea with another disc bud. This disc bud is called Churchill. Absolutely love it. And you guys, you notice in these, you got the cremone ball, the disc bud, and the disc buds that I've used. They're very inexpensive, but they are very popular with this current generation. They love them. And they last a long time. And anytime your product can last longer for the consumer, just builds that trust and that love of flowers. So I encourage you to try them, especially the cremone balls. Guys, they are just to die for. And in this particular design, we have spray roses as well as the lisianthus, just to bring up some movement. And I'm pouring water out again. Absolutely love the container. These will be also mass produced for Mother's Day. And so you can see, we'll go back to this one. To create this, I just need some hydrangeas, cremone balls, ranunculus, which you could substitute for something else, and Dusty Miller. I have 4 products there, and those products have so much versatility to use with other things, because remember, I'm going to bring in white lilies, and I'm going to bring in some LA lilies in yellow as well. So I could take this same arrangement with the hydrangeas and the Dusty Miller, and I could change the whole dynamics by adding, say, some lilies with it, some spray roses, and so forth, without having to stock my cooler with everything under the sun. But absolutely love the yellow.
Randy, we've got another question or
Okay.
question, comments, kind of related back to that birthday too, because you said you take down all your birthday, but there were some comments that some like your color combinations could very well be for birthday, the yellows, the whites, the orange, pinks,
Yes.
whatever. So would you also cross promote those then? Maybe those are on your webpage under Mother's Day, but maybe you take down your birthday, but put those under birthday, so it's easier for somebody to find or suggest?
Well, I think actually the way it works on my site, when they hide things, I call it hiding because they just make it non-visible. The designs are put on my homepage when they log on, when they open my homepage. It says bestsellers, and they're listed there. And then there's a tab for Mother's Day, and then they're listed there. And the roses and these designs are all mixed together on the Mother's Day page. So it looks like I have a lot of options. And then there's a tab for roses, and you click on that, and then it's just roses. So they're in multiple places, which gives it a larger feel. I don't want you to think that when they log on, it's just a skeleton of a website because it's not. But that's the way it normally shows when they land on the page. It says bestsellers and they're all listed there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Well, before I do that, let's go over here. All right, we have sunflowers, and we have another version of those same flowers. You know, I told you we're going to take those flowers and we're going to make different arrangements. This one happens to be in a lavender base, therefore bringing that color all the way down to the container. Absolutely loving this. And then we have it in a purple. This is purple base, clear glass purple, and then the same flowers but in a different style of an arrangement. They're both very, for me, they're both very traditional. This is probably the more traditional one in our area, and this is more of a compact, low arrangement. And some of them call that around here contemporary, not contemporary for me, but in this area, yes. So we have two different versions of the same product, and then they're at two different price points, which therefore gives you versatility when people come in and they may like this one, but their budget is geared to this, okay? So we do a little bit of both, and not every design do I do that, but normally 2 or 3 of those will make 2 different versions like this. And more importantly for us, our walk-in traffic is more concerned about a price point. So we mass produce so many in each given price point. But then, like I said, there's a few that we do the 2 different styles of arrangements. But isn't that so pretty? So spring looking, vibrant colors. Absolutely love it. So want to make sure that we're doing those different versions. And just like the purple base, we have a pink base. And we did a traditional arrangement here. Look at those disc buds. That's the other pink disc bud that I have. Absolutely love it. I wish you guys could see it really up close. Love those disc buds. And like I said, they're inexpensive and they last a long time. But these make a really pretty pair, because a lot of times we get customers that say, I need to send something to my mom, to my grandmother, or to my mother and my mother-in-law. Just 2 different versions, same price point, same style of base, but different colors. Any questions?
Nope, nothing else right now.
Cool. I got excited today getting to design. I do design, but a lot of times you're on autopilot and you're just trying to get the order out. Today I got to play. Absolutely love this rectangular base. It's real narrow and allowed me to do this elongated arrangement, and I love this color palette. Ever since Christmas and we started getting back into everyday designs and colors in spring, absolutely love this palette. Right now it's probably one of my favorite. I love the peach corals and oranges with the pop of green, with the green ball dianthus and the white hypericum. Absolutely love it. You can see all those beautiful colors. Now, one of the things that I want to share with you on the design element is that if you look closely, all the stock is grouped in this region and then in the opposite region. Okay? The tulips are all grouped right here together, and then there's another grouping on the back. It makes a stronger visual impact when you group everything. The 2 lilies are opposite one another right in the top, and then these beautiful roses come all the way through the middle, with the hypericum and the green ball dianthus nestled in between. Absolutely love this palette. If you're not doing the corals and peaches, you need to. It's a very popular color, and I love it. Oh my gosh, I love it. And it's so different. It's not the pinks and purples. That's one of the reasons why I love it. Don't you love this container? Absolutely.
Randy, we've got another question.
Okay.
Just wondering what some of the price points are for the different arrangements that you're showing.
Okay.
And I know it's gonna differ in everybody's market. And
it is going to differ because in certain areas you may pay a little more for product than I do because of transportation. You know, some places are harder to get to, and therefore I pay sometimes more than maybe you pay because I've had to pay for the transportation. This particular arrangement that you see right here would probably run anywhere from $125 to $135 on this. And it probably might be even a little bit more. And the reason I say that is because I don't really know the price of this container. It's very heavy. The glass is very thick. So that might be the one to push it on over a little bit more. Flower wise, probably around $125 for this one. I know it's hard to see, but it is a very nice large arrangement here. Now, those arrangements that you see here, these are more like $75 to $80 because we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see, there's 5 sunflowers and there's 5 roses in there. So it will be every bit of probably could be $80 or $90 because we have stock in here, hypericum, and this beautiful. I don't know if you can see that, it's dark, but this beautiful aster, this hybrid aster, folks. I don't know if you can see that up against that wall. It's dark, it's purple, I'm sorry. Absolutely love this hybrid aster. Looks like little bitty buttons of fuzz on the ends. But this would be that price point along with the pink. Now those in the plastic containers that we showed you, this particular one would probably be $100, and the reason I say that is merely because the number of roses that's in there. I was designing for pretty, but this particular one can be scaled back to more 75 by taking some of those roses out and substituting with something else less expensive. But absolutely, I mean, it's a big arrangement. I mean, it's a good 18, 19 inches wide. I don't know if that shows up there on the camera, but it is a large arrangement. And then that little sunflower arrangement we showed would probably be $55 or $60 for that. Now, that arrangement that I showed you, we have a smaller version, and it's in the FTD Wooten box. Absolutely love those. And, you know, maybe someone liked this arrangement but didn't have the budget for it. So we make a smaller version in a less expensive container and do our take on it. And instead of the lilies, in here we use the white disc buds, which are a lot cheaper. What do you think? I absolutely love this palette.
is that a color palette that's really popular with the younger generation, Randy?
It is. It is. And we're starting, you know, universally right now, the favorite color for weddings is all white. Everything all white. But we are seeing a little bit of the pale peach come into that. And I'm excited about it. Now, you know, I told you that I like lilies and I buy different kinds of lilies.
Randy, I'm going to interrupt you again really quickly because we did have a question about where you're located. So they were trying to figure out pricing based on that. So you are in
I'm
Georgia.
located in South Georgia, about 3 hours south of Atlanta in a town called Douglas, Georgia. Okay. And a lot of my product that I purchase is farm direct, comes straight out of South America. So I'm getting probably some of the best pricing you're going to get on that. And if you're interested in something like that, you can reach out to me and I can maybe help you with that. But also, FTD Flower Exchange has got some really good pricing. And when you look at it and you see that pricing, always know that that pricing includes shipping. And I will tell you that means a lot because over the last few weeks, I had to FedEx and overnight some boxes. And the going rate out of Miami right now, to me, is $65 a box overnight. I can't do that. So when you're looking on the Flower Exchange, check out their prices because that price per stem that they quote you includes shipping. Okay, so always keep that in mind. I told you that I love, for Mother's Day, I order different types of lilies. And I love the Orientals because of their size and the presentation and the volume. This particular lily is called Conquidor. It is a pale buttercream yellow lily. It is huge. It opens beautifully and it holds a long time in the cooler. I'm telling you, I have these lilies that last over 2 weeks in my cooler and are beautiful. And many times we will send them, and they open relatively fast. They're not a slow opener. It's not one of those that's going to take a week or two to get them open. But a lot of times we will send some out in an arrangement that are this size of a bud, and by the end of the day or in the morning, they're already well on their way to being open. But one of the reasons why I love to do lilies is because I can create a big impact with minimum amount of product. I mean, if someone wants to have a massive or a large arrangement and you're putting everything under the sun in it, product can add up really quick. And number two, that's more insertions, okay? In this particular design, I have lilies, I have 10 stems of white delphinium, and I have the willow here, the blooming willow, and then I have the dusty miller. That's all that's in this arrangement. And it went quick, and it makes a huge impact. I hope this translates onto the video, but absolutely love this arrangement. And next to me, you can see how massive this arrangement is. This happens to be an 8-inch diameter cylinder that is 11 inches tall. Okay. The greenery in this is salal as my base with some huckleberry coming out, green huckleberry. You can see it here. And that's it, folks. It doesn't have to be complicated. And by doing this, the only product that I purchased to make this arrangement is lilies, delphinium, and the dusty miller. And then my greenery is salal and huck. So you can see the versatility with this design. I mean, if the price point went up, I could add roses to this. I mean, it's very simple. And we also do this with the white Orientals and the pink Orientals. I'm not a fan of the Stargazer or the Starfighter, and I'll tell you why. Number one, they blow really fast and they don't hold long. Okay, not for me. I'm going to speak for me. I'm not going to speak for the product itself. For me, when I get them, they don't last. They start turning dark in the center and they just fall apart. The one that works good for me, and I'm sure there's others out there, but the ones that has performed for me and I stick with is called Table Dance. They're a big lily like this, and they're a medium pink. They're not a light pink, it's a medium pink, and I absolutely love them. And you can see the impact that you can have by creating such a big arrangement, but I've limited the types of flowers I put in there. So I hope you like that one. Any questions?
Yes, we do. Where are you purchasing these vases? Obviously, the FTD Marketplace containers through FTD, but
yes, the containers we're going to talk about in a minute are from Marketplace. Those cylinders, there's a couple different options. I don't want to throw names out there because I'm not here to advertise for them. But if you'll private message me, I'll be glad to share that with you. Glass is hard to find. I'm telling you right now, my inventory is very low. There is a supplier in North Georgia who has glass, but unfortunately for me, they only ship it on a pallet on a freight liner, and I don't have a dock, so I always have to go pick mine up. But yeah, private message me and I'll share my sources with you. Okay.
Okay, we've got a couple more questions, Randy.
Okay.
What was the name of the lily that you were just talking about?
Conquador. CONCADOR.
All right, and then your sympathy book, is your sympathy book still available, and where can they get it?
Yes, sympathy book is available. You can private message me or call my shop, Dolores' Florist, at 912-384-7288, and we will get that out to you. We just don't have it available online. You know, it costs money to put it out there and run a website. So, but we do have some in-house. So, would love to share that with you.
All right, I've got another question. They're rolling in now. Thanks, everyone. The hammered vases, do they have Oasis in them or a grid system or?
Great question. Those are water-based designs, and they do have a grid system. And I'm going to talk about that when I'm talking about mass producing, and we'll go right into that now. Mass producing, for me, was my savior, if I will, in the dilemma of running a small town shop with a limited staff, trying to meet the demand, if that makes sense. So for us, and I'm not going to say I've experienced some backlash. I'm not going to use that term, but I've had people question me about gridding. And like, Randy, you're an experienced designer. You're this, you're that. Why do you grid? You should be able to do this without gridding. And you're absolutely right, and I can. I can create a design without gridding my bases, but I'll tell you why I grid my bases, and hopefully you'll understand. I started gridding my bases years ago when there was a time when I began working with the FFA program and teaching other students and kids how to make a water-based design. And when doing so, they would place their stems in, their greenery in their stems, and every time they would place the stem in, the stem would fall out to the side and leave a hole in the middle. And so I started teaching them to grid. And then in that process, light bulbs went off for me, and I'm like, you know what? I have a problem in transportation. When especially the lower compact arrangements in cubes and cylinders, it's beautiful on my table, but when it gets handled and delivered out to the customer, it doesn't keep its form and it doesn't keep its shape. So at that point, we started gridding, and that's been many, many years ago. And we grid everything that is water-based. We do a good bit in foam, but anything that is water-based primarily is grid. When bases come in, my sister, she's the #1 gridder around here. She can do a tight grid, and it's with the 1/4 clear waterproof anchor tape, okay? I don't use the green, it has to be clear. She grids all the bases, they go on the shelf, okay? So I grid, I'm not ashamed to grid, because when I make this arrangement and the delivery person, especially on holiday times, when you have someone delivering for you that doesn't do it on a daily basis, they may not handle it with the same care. So when I create this design, he can handle it all he wants. These flowers aren't going anywhere because they're in a grid, okay? So yes, I agree. Now, doing mass production.
Randy, can I interrupt you since we're right in that? Because someone's wanting us to know, are you able, and I don't know if you have your supplies there, can you show us how to grid your bases quickly? Is that?
Yes, if I can walk off camera.
Sure.
All right, give me just a second. I got some right here.
Thanks everyone for the questions. We appreciate it. Keep them coming in the question box, whatever you've got for Randy.
Okay, I'm back. All right, this is the clear. Let's see if I can get it over here. Clear anchor tape. This is my base.
And while you're doing that, we have another question. How do you change the water using the grid, with the grid?
Great question. I'll show you in just a second. Pull that tape tight. We turn it and we do like a tic-tac-toe. Right here, create this grid. Now, when I grid, my sister says I don't get it tight enough. That's why she grids them all. So anyway, we have the grid. You can see it there. And then I go around the edge of the base to secure all those little pieces of tape. I'm looking at myself on the thing here. There you go. You can see it. And it's gridded. Now, you asked about how do we change the water. Okay. Holiday time, like Valentine's just a couple months ago, a week ahead of time, we came in on a Saturday and a Sunday, and I think it only took a day and a half. We came in and greened every base with Salau. 300, I think it was 300 or 400, I don't remember. It was 360 or something we gridded before we went into the holiday, before we started designing. Now after that we greened more, but we greened them with Salau. That's our base greenery, okay? And the reason I choose Salau is because it doesn't dry out in the cooler. Other greenery, the good tried and true leatherleaf, has a tendency to dry out for me. I don't speak for others, but for me. So I shifted to the Salau. Yes, the Salau does cost a little more than the leatherleaf. I'm fully aware of that. But what that difference in price does, it saves me time because I can green these up and put them in the cooler and they're done. Now, when we bring them out and we design in them, we change the water. We take it to the sink, our big deep sink. We hold the base in one hand, hold the greenery up on one side, and we pour the water out. Put it back under the faucet and give it fresh water. That's how we change the water in there. And once it's green and ready to go, and they're all bases, I determine what price point is going to be what base, and they're green and they're put in the cooler all in one area. And then when we start designing, we roll our card in there, fill it up with those bases, bring it out to the table, and we'll do 20 or 30 of them at one time, duplicate them, put them back in the cooler. They're tagged, labeled at a certain price point. Then we move on to the next style of arrangement. And normally in the shop, I assign certain recipes to certain designers. And we have people bring their buckets out of all the products they're using for that design, and they mass produce that one before they move on to something else. And I'm telling you, it saves us time, and the stress is gone. You know, people in the industry say, oh my gosh, Valentine's is coming, I dread it, I hate Valentine's, I hate Valentine's. And I will tell you, and this is honest, the Lord knows I'm being honest here, I look forward to Valentine's, because I'm not saying that it can't be stressful, because there are moments or an isolated incident that is stressful, but the holiday itself and preparing is no longer stressful for me. Well, let me tell you that back. Getting the product here is stressful. Once it's in-house, I'm good. Once the product is here, there's no stress for me. It's nothing but a plan. We have a plan, and we execute that plan. And then every year we sit down and we think of something what we could have done differently. And there is always something we could have done differently. but I actually love when Valentine comes. I like it better than Mother's Day, to be honest with you. But it took all this mass producing, took all that stress out of me. I mean, in the beginning, years ago, we would work around the clock. My first Valentine's Day, my mom and I worked 41 hours straight, did not leave the shop, did not sleep. Okay? And I vowed at that moment, there has to be a better way to do this. I can't do this. I'm not going to. And so mass producing was the way for me. There would be no way that this shop in this small town can handle the volume we handle on holiday time without mass producing. So if you're not, don't be afraid. Listen, wedding work, I start on wedding work on Monday and Tuesday for a Saturday wedding. And other shops would say, oh gosh, you're gonna make a bouquet on Tuesday for Saturday? Yeah, it's a hand bouquet. What's the difference in those stems sitting in a vase of water, designed, or in a bucket, loose stem? There is no difference. So why are we afraid to mass produce? So I encourage you, if you're not mass producing or you're not greening in advance, I encourage you to do so. This was a game changer for us. And I'll tell you how we implement that in our daily work. One of my sister's jobs is every day, once the daily orders are done, then her job is to restock the cooler with different bases at different price points and green them with the base greenery. So that at any point in time, if a customer walks in the door and says, do you have XYZ? I'm like, I can have it for you in less than 5 minutes. I go to that cooler, I pull the base, it's already green. All I have to do is insert the stems and design. Quick and easy. And that's her job. She keeps them green for me. So any questions on that?
Yes, when you were talking about changing the water, how do clients or customers then change the water do they take the flowers? I mean, they wouldn't take the flowers out of the grid. I guess there's just a question.
Right. No. They would, people have asked us in the past, customers, how do we change the water? I demonstrate for them and instruct them just like I instructed you. The thing of telling customers, of course, you want to get the flower a fresh cut. How many people do that? Probably less than 1% do that. So it's not for me, and I'm only speaking for me. It's not that big of an issue for me, and I'll tell you why. Because I buy fresh product. I can't preach that enough. I'm going to say this, and I'm very careful when I say this, but it's what you buy. It's how fresh you buy. I have learned by doing farm direct, I have learned that product in Miami is sold by age. Age means how many days it's been sitting in a box in a cooler in Miami. The longer it sits there, the cheaper the product is. And if you've got product that comes to you, whether it's coming direct to you or via a wholesaler, and it came to the wholesaler or it came to you with 5 days in a box without any water, it's not fresh, okay? My stuff that comes has 0 to 1 day age. That means it flew into Miami the day before it left out on a truck to me, or it came in the morning of the same day as my truck. That's how fresh my stuff is. And we get calls all the time of saying, I got a week and a half or I got 2 weeks out of my flowers. Now, 1 or 2 in there started dying first, but the whole arrangement lasted that long. And it has to do with what you're buying. Okay? Yes, there's product that you can have in your cooler for a week and you still send it out. I get it. But for me, I have roses right now that came in last week, and we shift product in our cooler by age. If it didn't sell, it gets moved over here, and then I go through it and I check it out before I use it on a client. Today, I opened a pack of Moody Blues roses, which are a lavender rose. They came in 8 days ago, hard as a brick. That's how fresh my stuff is. And I'm telling you, it makes a difference. And therefore, leading back to your question, we really don't address that about taking it out with a grid and cutting the stem. So I hope that helped you. Any other
Yep.
questions?
One more question about the tape. Does the tape stick if it's wet? I would assume it's already stuck to the vase.
No, it has to be dry.
Okay.
It has to be dry. And I will tell you this, if you run into a vase and the tape doesn't want to stick, what that means is there's some kind of film on that glass, because sometimes from certain companies, we have to take the glass and literally wipe around the brim or clean the glass, because there's some kind of film on it and the tape won't stick. Once you clean it, the tape sticks. All right, now we're going to move on to the one thing that I'm excited about, and that is the time saver resources. Any way that you can save time saves you money, just like gridding, just like greening up and putting it in the cooler in advance. Absolutely love it. And one of the things that I'm excited about with FTD and their codified products is that they are offering time saver bouquets. And what those are is they go ahead and take the recipe for that codified product, and they already have it in a bouquet. And it's basically, the old term is chop and drop type thing. And one thing I'm excited about this is because, you know, we talked about earlier about limiting the number of products that you order and bring in for the holiday. The product for the codified arrangements may not be some of the things that you bring in, but what you could do is order these time saver bouquets for the codified product. Save your time, save your money, and it's ready to go. And you can take a less skilled designer and put them on this project. And absolutely love this thing, because on these, I don't want to think about this. I just want to do it. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to give it a cut. I'll be right back here. And then you're wanting to spread it around. Loosen it up a little bit. And there you go. And I'm pouring water out again. And that arrangement is done and ready. And that would be your time saver for your codified product. Okay? So that was the smaller cinch vase. We talked about sources for vases. I love these vases because they have this wide mouth, and it allows the flexibility and diversity to create smaller arrangements or larger arrangements. Okay? So we got another bouquet.
And those are the FTD Flower Exchange Labor Saver bouquets. Both of these.
Yes. Labor saver.
Okay. And those are all done. The recipes I know are all done as the deluxe recipe. We've got, while you're doing that, Randy, there's another question. They said, our delivery drivers, excuse me, are not a fan of the cinched faces because they shift, especially the standard versions, the shorter, the smaller ones. Do you tape those bases as well?
Do what now?
I can't hear you, Randy. We're losing you.
Can you repeat it for me?
Yes. She said the delivery drivers are not a fan of the
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. The delivery drivers are not a fan of the cinched faces because, especially in the standard version, because they said that the flowers shift. She's asking if you tape those vases as well. And I can't hear you.
Absolutely, and that's why. You know, I mentioned earlier. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Are you having trouble hearing me?
There's a little delay, like a
Can you hear
3 second.
me now?
Yes.
Okay, that's why I talked about earlier where the shorter vases with the wide mouth, that's where I originally started gridding because things wanted to shift. Absolutely grid them, okay?
And then we also have a question about where you're getting the bases. I'm not sure if that is the FTD marketplace. These are the ones you're showing, the cinch bases, and that otherwise I think you said they can private message you.
Yes. These are the FTD cinched vases. This is the larger one, and this is the shorter one. And I love them, folks. I love them. They are just, the mouth of them is really larger, and it gives you that opportunity to make a bigger arrangement for the money. Absolutely love. These are the FTD Labor Saver bouquets. Absolutely love them. And this is another one of the FTD codified vases, and it has another Labor Saver bouquet in it as well. What you think, guys? What you think of that?
They're great.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So the thing of this, it relieves the stress, okay? It takes the guesswork out of overstuffing. That's a huge problem, overstuffing. And, you know, I've had employees in the past say, well, you know, it's just $1. Well, if you make 20 arrangements today and you do $1, that's $20 today times 5, that's $100 this week, okay? I mean, yeah. So we don't want to overstuff. And these, on the codified product, this takes that out of the equation. It is what the recipe calls for. You cut it and put it in. Absolutely love it, especially holiday time. And then you can focus your attention with your other stuff on designs like this. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to touch on is adequate staffing. And this has been a hard challenge for me over the years, but I have come to the realization I'm at the point in my journey here that I'm willing to pay good money for good help. And what I mean by that is I will overcompensate someone if I know that person's going to do a great job for me at a holiday time. It's worth it. We, for 20 years, have had off-duty firemen. One of my cousins is a captain with the local fire department. And in the beginning, 20 years ago, he said, I'll get you some off-duty firemen to do your delivery for you. This was back before we had, you know, smartphones with GPS on it. He said they know the addresses, they can get it done. And we paid them well for then. But over the last 3 years, it's been harder and harder to get off-duty firemen to come because everybody is busy, and to give it their time, it has to be worth their time. So I doubled the ante on that, and I pay them very well. And now they're all jumping at who's going to get to come work on Valentine's and Mother's Day. But I do that because they are in and they are out. And when I say adequate help, we've always had about 3 to 4 drivers at Valentine's and Mother's Day. And 2 years ago, Mom came to me and she said, you know, we got them all done, but it was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon and it was done. I think we need to bump up our people to 5 or 6 drivers. And I'm like, are you sure? She's like, I think so. So we did last year. We had 5. We were done at 1 p.m. on Valentine's Day with all deliveries except what was coming in at that time and what came in the afternoon. And by, I'd say 3 o'clock, I sent 3 of them home and kept 2. And then this past February, we had 6 drivers, and they were done at 12:40 with all orders delivered. When I say that, I mean, we're talking over 300 deliveries, okay? Luckily, we're in a small town, so it's all right here. So it's not like they're out on an hour delivery spree. They're out going 20 minutes and they're back. But it was worth it to me to pay them and have that many people here to get those orders out. So the phone's not ringing and saying, it's 2 o'clock. She hadn't got her flowers yet, okay? So you need to figure out what works best for you and what's most important for you. By doing that, we were able to get everybody's orders out. Whereas the other shops in town were still having problems getting their deliveries made. And people know what we do, and so they come to us because they know we can get it out. And you've got to have that staffing. Delivery was one of them. Design. This past Valentine's, I had the most designers in here I've ever had in 20 years. I had 5. I've never had 5. It's been 3 of us forever. And those 5 killed it. Nobody stayed late. We didn't have to work long hours. We had already greened. They mass produced. They had everything done in a day and a half, and we were out of here. That's worth it to me. Now I know where I need to be on my staffing, and things went smooth. There was no stress. I'm telling you, you might say, well, Randy, that's a lot of payroll. Yes, it is. But look at the return I got because we were able to handle more orders. This was the biggest holiday we've ever had. So we were able to handle it because we were adequately prepared. And it's all about planning. I'm telling you, and there again, I'm going to say, I don't have the perfect shop. We're still figuring it out 20 years later. But what has been working, we keep doing it and we keep tweaking it. And it's better to have more than I need. Yes, we could have done it, but I would have stayed here all hours of the night to get it done. Not anymore. My time is more important. And it's more important to take care of that customer and meet their expectations. They don't want to place an order 2 weeks in advance and then you're still not getting it to the recipient till mid-afternoon or late afternoon. You've got to have that ample staff. The biggest thing on staffing is sales and customer service. It all starts with the phone call or the walk-in. And at that point, that sets the tone for the rest of the process of that delivery and that arrangement. You need to make sure you have ample people here. We have 2 people dedicated to the walk-ins. They don't answer the phone. They don't do anything but wait on what comes in the door. And in between, if they're needed to do something quickly, they do it. But otherwise, they sit in that chair. And if nobody comes in for 20 minutes, that's fine. That's what they're paid for. They're paid to sit in that chair, and when the customer comes in, take care of them. We have 2 people dedicated to the phone because we only have 2 phone lines here. So they are dedicated. They're off in another room. They're sitting there taking the order, keying the order, and then it's sent to the back. In the back, we have the staff that's designing. We have someone there that is receiving those orders, going to the cooler, finding the product that's already made, tagging that order, writing on that order that it's tagged, and then delivering it to the department that is routing for delivery. Okay? So in addition to the designs, we have a person that handles the order. Okay? And there's 2 of them. Then in the delivery area, this year we had 4 people, 2 people pulling out of the cooler and 2 people routing. I know it. I'm a small shop, folks, but the volume we do, we have to have the people in place to make it happen. And you have to be, people have complained over the years about delivery fees. The delivery fee helps with those people on that day. You should be charging more. You have more expenses. You have more vehicles. You have more gas. You have more people. So you should be charging. Your delivery fees for holidays should be more because of that fact, because you're handling such a larger volume. But without that staffing in place, we could not get the holiday complete without it. So you need to sit down really and look at your volume and determine what areas that you need to strengthen that area up, whether it be on the sales, customer service, in the design room, in the delivery section. Look at those independently of one another and see where there's a weakness or a breakdown. Okay, because like 2 years ago, we had a breakdown where orders were being keyed and then they were being brought to the design area, but then they were never tagged. They were just sitting there waiting on the design team to go pull it. The design team was filling orders. They were designing, I shouldn't say filling orders, they were designing and replenishing stock in the cooler. So they didn't have time to do that. So I knew at that moment I needed someone dedicated to facilitate those orders as they're being printed, to keep that flow going, because as soon as that order is printed, that order is tagged and labeled in the cooler, then it's brought to the routing and it can get put on the route and get out the door. So I needed those people. So take a look at your staffing and see where you need to shore up some things, add some people. Trust me, it'll be worth it. Any questions on that?
Nope. Are we all set
No
now?
question?
Nope. Randy, thanks for sharing a lot of great tips for the upcoming holiday, for sure.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank everyone for joining.
Thanks, everyone. Yes. And we are open if there's any final questions. I know, thanks everyone for hanging in there with us. Randy does have a lot of great tips to share. So if you've got any final questions, type them in that question box. And while we wait for any questions, I just want to remind everyone that you can download those 2 documents from the handout section on the upper right side of your screen. It's a quick handout with all of Randy's tips that he shared this afternoon. And it's the FTD Flower Exchange order form for those Mother's Day Labor Saver bouquets that he showed us, and the pricing is included on those forms. So, and it doesn't look like any more questions. So I think we've probably covered, we had a lot of great questions today. So
Well, thank you so much. And I hope there was something in this that will help you take a pause and look at your whole process, and maybe pick one, if nothing else, pick one of those and go back and try to tweak your system, and hopefully everybody will have a very successful Mother's Day.
Yep. Thanks everyone for joining us. A recording will be available on demand on the FTD Mercury Network Florist YouTube channel. And for more upcoming education programming from FTD, visit ftdi.com to register for those upcoming free webinars and design shows, as well as to view past education programs on demand. So thanks everyone.